So good morning to a lot of others who joined since the inaugural session. So we have been given a free hand in terms of focus within the broad framework very eloquently put by Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran about IP and also its relationship and interface with other laws. Probably I thought I will concentrate the next 10 minutes on a current development which is happening on leveraging and optimizing patent assets. The traditional mode has been patent, we use the word exploitation, which doesn't sound very nice in a general legal discourse of exploitation, which is more a pejorative word. Whether IP is for development seems to be the new buzzword, where they're trying to get it from a conflict model to a cooperation model, albeit that you can't have a single model, but this has been an attempt. So, as I said, the question in the last decade has been not on the fundamentals of IPR itself, but IPR and its impact. That seems to be the fundamental canvas by which very much academic discussion, theoretical analysis, and also, practice, also judicial decisions are by and large in this. Since it's a graphic picture, you can see these two, things are very balanced, very beautifully. But a balance is something, always a bit of a pendulum, up and down, both sides. So somewhere, where does the balance lie? It cannot be a perfect balance, but obviously, many a times, legislations, public policy, and courts interpret towards public interest. They always tilt it little towards public interest, keeping in mind about the enormous cost and other complexities involved in innovation. So my question, as I said, is if they say that for science, the primary question is why? And for technology, the primary question is how to do it. For law, the primary question for whom? That seems to be the primary question for always law. So obviously, this is subject matter of a partnership of science and technologists as well as law on the other side. You tend to always have a sort of struggle in terms of the balance. And so how do we find the balance? One such thing I thought, apart from other speakers going to put their perspectives, I thought I will talk about some latest developments, what is happening. And this is called patent pooling, which is something is coming up in a different way. And it's not a very new idea. It's a very old idea in one sense. For example, what do you see? The very humble sewing machine, Singer sewing machine you see. I've just given a brand name here. There are many other sewing machines at the time. They were all into a patent war at a point of time. They were all suing each other, and there was a big patent war which has broken out in 1856 onwards. And suddenly, there is this lawyer who is representing one of the major firms, suddenly thought, why do you all fight if you all could share things and also benefit the public? So he forms the first, consortium of the sewing machine manufacturers, and he says that we'll pool the royalty, we'll share the royalty, and that way we'll avoid unwanted litigation, which will also delay the fruits of such inventions being enjoyed by a lot of people. This was followed by another famous brothers, whom you know as Wright brothers, who invented, who first invented the first aircraft. And Wright brothers were Wright brothers for some time, and they were later perceived as wrong brothers because they started suing left, right, and center everyone in US because of the various patent claims what they had. So this became a problem, and at a point, United States could not manufacture or procure aircrafts internally because of this patent war which was going on. So US intervened, and they formed, Aircrafts Manufacturers Association, brought everybody and said that we'll have certain royalty business and then run the show. And so this was, again, I'm talking 1908 and 1918. And then precedingly, after that, these particular two phases, there was not much activity on that. Then it evolved, and of course, many patents came, and then one patent is excelling another one. Probably it was a different issue. But again, when you come to 97, very recently, the moving pictures experts group called MPEG brought in a new phase of technology where it is impossible for one person to have some invention. There are people across the board having inventions, so they all have to be brought in one certain technical platform so that the public can benefit with certain technology platform. So MPEG, and then followed by what you know, DVD, the digital versatile disc. These two manufacturers of the various people put in their essential patents and applied to the Department of Justice. And by the time, imagine, this 100 years, also the regulatory aspects of intellectual property has grown very much, and there are a lot of civil society groups, consumer groups, judiciary, everybody are looking at the benefit as well as the abuse of patents. So probably at this point of time, compared to Wright Brothers and Singer Association, where they even suspected there was some kind of price fixing in the name of patent pooling, this time they brought in, a good amount of, guidelines towards how to allow such patent pooling. And one of the latest example is RFID, the radio frequency stuff which came in. And the latest which I want to finally talk about is called the Unit 8, which is called the Medicines Patent Pool, which has been initiated by WHO, whereby they wanted to bring in, essential patents and then allow some generic manufacturers to manufacture and to reach a large number of people. So this was again hailed as what you call as reinventing what was once done and then, left in between, and it has been brought together. So the what of a patent pool, as I explained to you, it's a joint licensing of two or more entities owning essential patents required for a practice or a defined specification, which is often stated as a standard, or it can even be an open standard. And why the pool? Because for a larger market access. So it is not, I would say that it is not against entrepreneurship or market, it is for a wider market access, to reduce the costs of independent licensing, to create a win-win situation between licensor and licensees, to create a market stability by avoiding unwarranted, litigation costs, and to balance return on investment and reasonable access price. How does the patent pool operates? It takes around 9 to 15 months of publication of standard setting, and it takes additional time of 3 years for its development into a business model, and it requires global players to come to terms with the nitty-gritty of the license provision, and it requires to make the program market enabling in spite of release of the products in the market. You have like mega pools, contract patent pools, and technical standard based pools. And I'm sure that to stick to Mr. Laxminarayan's 10 minutes guideline, which if a professor sticks to 10 minutes, others should, I don't have any doubt about others, right? So I should lead the example. So I'm going to, this presentation will be around to see you that various pools, how does it work. But the downside of the pools is where the competition law and other things comes in. Dumping non-essential patents is being, MPEG is now accused of dumping non-essential patents at the cost. Now the Department of Justice in US has taken a complaint to look into whether such kind of practice, which is considered as abuse. Price fixing could happen, or unreasonable royalty charge, or the issues of grant back, that is improvement on IP, then who owns it, what could be, the legal issues which being contemplated. Notwithstanding, I would say in the Indian context, the Medicines Patent Pool signed an agreement with Aurobindo Pharma here in Hyderabad, with VIV Healthcare, and then again it signed with Shilpa Medicare and Gilead Sciences for HIV drugs, etc. The parting thought which I would say is, incidentally, this cannot be compelled. These patent pools have to happen with certain welfare thing in the mind. If there is certain welfare thing in the mind, these patent pools can happen. But people can walk out freely outside this patent pool. So somewhere it has to be reasonable in terms of the benefits what it accrues for the people who come into the pool, at the same time trying to tell that whether we can have a cooperative or a win-win situation, rather than patents are looked either from investment point or IP is looked about access point. Whether we can combine these two things seems to be the latest attempt. So if I look at patent pools, this picture could show you better. You got a street fight and you got a fight in the boxing ring. I'm sure that both the places you smell blood. It's not some as peaceful. But the point is, people prefer a more regulated stuff of licensing where they can go get it, and quickly you can move things, to the delivery mechanism, because quite often it could get stuck into litigation part than the original noble thing of invention for the sake of public could be blocked. And so this is how the choices are now in terms of very many new technologies, which is complex and has to be standardized. So, happy pooling. Thank you.